I think we have to ask ourselves, where is that mandate coming from? So the more and more different professionals have to be accredited or tick-boxed. You have got the right skills, you have got the right. But actually more and more, as you look around, what's happening is not language communication skills. The more important skills are relational skills, interpersonal skills. So can you have the relationship? Can you build relationship with the patient, with the students, with the clients? So that's the difference. So I think this whole idea of the skill set, that there is a recipe for behavior. And therefore, anybody who comes on a course, whether it is a master's course or even a workshop for a day, you should go back after the workshop. Now you are skilled. And we know, and most professional practitioners know, that there is no quick fix solution to the problems are so complex. The skill set is too simple. So you can't address complex problems with simple tools. You might be disillusioned. You might think, I have got the skills, one size fits all, so I'm ready to go, ready to roll. But I don't think it works that way. Every professional practitioner will tell, life is far more complex, practice is far more complex. It goes beyond skills. Even if you have the skills, it's a threshold. It's not an optimal state of being. So of course you need skills as a basic, but we have to go beyond skills, because we know that even in the family, in the classrooms, any setting we can think about from our experience, each situation is unique. Each situation is unique and uncertain. So the more we think about uniqueness, skills are about standardized, generic practices. How do we apply a generic skill to a unique situation? It's a big question for all of us. So for me, the skills are necessary, but not sufficient to be a good practitioner. So what we need to really go forward is from behavior and skills to meaning making. So how do we make meanings, repair relationships through our language and communicative practices? So skills will be always there, but it's never going to be sufficient to solve problems.
I'm sure that those of you that are listening to this, it will bring you in contact with different kind of experiences you have. And so we suggest that you listen to this talk, and then if you can map it onto your own experiences and maybe formulate some questions regarding this. What does it mean to go beyond skills? What do we mean when we have a contextual perspective on language and communication? Those kind of issues. So then we move on to the second topic, which is much more related to key issues and key concepts in the field of language and communication in the professions. And I have a book here. It's called Talk, Work and Institutional Order. It's Srikant Sarangi and Celia Roberts. And in the very beginning here, I'll just see if I can find a quote. I would like to hear your comment on that. So you say, workplaces are held together by communicative practices. That is both concrete and quite abstract at the same time, I find. Could you just develop on that? What do you mean that workplaces are held together by communicative practices?
Yes, I think in some ways it fits in with what I was saying about practice-based studies. So when you think about a workplace, an institution, NTNU as an institution, actually if you come inside the building, if there are no students and nothing happening, you don't know what a workplace is. So workplaces are empty without people and without their practices. And what that quote means is those practices are communicative practices. How we organize a routine, how we say we have a division of responsibility, you do this, you do that, how the timetables are organized. You think about those practices. Otherwise, the workplace actually doesn't exist. So workplaces are not buildings in wooden structures and brick and mortar. So these are practices that holds people together. It is an element of trust, element of responsibility, roles. People have certain roles. I am your manager or your line manager. You need to give your accounts to me or explain. We trust each other, therefore whatever you do, I don't question everything you do. Suppose, let me give a very concrete example, then that would make it more real of what I'm saying. Imagine a team meeting in a hospital. Okay. There might be a neurosurgeon, there might be a pediatrician, there might be a psychotherapist. All these people come together to solve the problem about the patient. When they talk, so this is a workplace based on, or you can say team-based workplace or work practices. So when they're talking about the patient, it's fascinating just to listen to how they talk about the patient. Even if the patient is there, they're not talking to the patient, they're talking about the patient, to each other. Then they start to talk in different kinds of language. A neurosurgeon uses some acronyms, some words that the physiotherapist doesn't understand. The social worker uses some concepts that the pediatrician won't understand. But they trust each other. Nobody says, sorry, how do you define it? So that shows that this is a division of communicative labor. If we don't trust each other in a team, we'll be regressing, we'll be going backwards, not forward. So that's what I meant by the language and communicative practices. They may on the surface look to be different, but they share a sense of responsibility and trust. So a team will not work if they start distrusting each other. And it will show in the communication and the language. So that's the kind of, so we can say that then teamwork is really about learning the language of the team. Learning to communicate like a team member rather than as an individual. And this is where you might say, you might be a very literate, well-trained practitioner. You know the language and communication, pretty well, but you somehow don't work as a team. And that really raises questions. If the workplace, and there are many, many workplaces which are completely now dependent on team-based work, individuals are no longer indispensable. You have to learn how to work in a team. So once we begin to ask ourselves, what are the ingredients? What are the criteria that we produce you to become a good team player, not an individual player, a star? Because some of the findings in education have shown that the more expert, the more knowledgeable the individuals are, the worse they are as a team. Because they don't loosen up, they don't trust, they think they are the big, they know the best. So all those egos, arrogance, all that doesn't make you a team player. So playing as a team, whether it's football or any game, handball or whatever, you can see that the individual brilliance doesn't make a good team. So one of the challenges would be people coming from different professions, they're increasingly being drawn into team-based work. But they have not been trained how to work as a team, how to use language and communicative practices, how to allow other people to talk, and how to disagree and agree with the discussions going on. So that's the kind of things that we need to address. So if the team cannot be held together, the workplace will collapse. So that would be, the practices need to be changed, need to be adapted. So when there is technology, when we live in a very diversified global world, lots of people from different cultures and language backgrounds, they have different practices, whether it is social work, medicine, teaching. So when you have a multi-professional team who are also multi-ethnic, multilingual, multicultural, can you imagine the challenges? And if you want to, if that is the reality, that all workplaces are diverse and globalized, how are you going to hold them together? What's the glue? And the glue is the language and communication.